Hi, and welcome to another episode of. It's on the Epic Store, so I'm probably not going to play it.
Oof, in 5D.
5D.
Ouch.
That just a general statement.
Yep,
As of late, I obviously you and I played Tiny Tina this weekend, just
yep.
for context for the audience. Shits and giggles. Sorry, not shit. It was for shits and giggles, but fun and excitement were had. Except, well, I can't get it on PC where I'd like to natively play it, where I have every other Borderlands game because it's stuck to the Epic Store, which is a hot piece of drivel. This isn't
This,
even a
this is
hot
actually
take.
this has come up with our group on just about every Borderlands game where I am the squeaky wheel. I'm the only one of our group who has all the Borderlands games on PlayStation. That's just what I've always played Borderlands on. And over the years, it hasn't happened for 3 yet. I'm actually betting it'll happen soon. But I have all of the other Borderlands games, both physically and digitally on I've physically on PlayStation and digitally on PC because somebody will inevitably get pissed that I'm not playing Borderlands with the group and just on sale in a year or two
Yeah.
buy me that
Mm-hmm.
Borderlands game so I can play with the group. It I don't ask for it, it always happens. So I have like 2 copies of everything but 3 in Tiny Tina.
Well, it obviously depends which Tiny Tina, right? So I have all of the Borderlands game on Xbox. That's where I originally
Yep.
started to play it. I even have the Borderlands 2 Super fucking Chest Edition.
Yep.
I've carded that through several moves. It is still fucking cool. I have it. I have it physically on the Xbox. I have all of the Borderlands games except for pre-sequel because I didn't like it.
I'll say I got pre-sequel too. I
And
like, dude. Most people don't like pre-sequel, and I don't understand. I will say there are a couple of real stinker classes that are borderline unplayable, but other than that, I really like pre-sequel.
I didn't like the pre-sequel one because the story unfortunately didn't draw me in. Like, I understood what they were doing and it was fun to watch more stories in that universe, but legitimately they couldn't talk me into caring about the characters.
But the float fall mechanics, oh my god, the jumping mechanics
Sure,
ruined
but
me for
that's
Borderlands
literally
forever.
it's literally the only thing I miss in all the other Borderlands games. You heard me. As soon as we're playing Tiny Tina, I was like, "Hey, is there a double jump in this bitch?"
Yep, and there's
And
fucking
yeah, and
nuts.
the answer is no, 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 there isn't. But that's okay. But it's the one redeemable quality. Like, you know me, I pick one class usually in Borderlands, and for years I will
Yeah.
run that class to the ground. I tried two separate ones on the pre-sequel, and I could not get that same like immersion and like because the best part about Borderlands is the fucking chaos, right?
Yeah.
You got all these guns that do all kinds of different things. So here you are shooting a gun that recites fucking hymns or whatever the fuck it decides to do, and then you have to do a special skill while at the same time shooting motherfuckers in the head. Well, at the same time, oh shit, you just went down, but that's okay because that's not the end. Shoot another motherfucker in the head, it'll bring you back up, and then launch your second skill, which will heal you. It's this fucking controlled bit of
So
chaos.
the 2 classes that worked, and unfortunately one was a DLC class, but Athena and then Hammerlock's sister. Those were
Okay,
the only like reasonable, decent classes
so
in that
I
game.
tried. Was it
You tried
Sub?
Wilhelm first because I know you did because I also tried Wilhelm first and hated him.
Wilhelm? I think I tried. Wilhelm's the big buff dude.
But who has the Sentinel drones as his
Yes.
special?
So that was the first one that I tried.
Yep, that was the first one I tried, and he's terrible. Wilhelm is
Well, oh,
awful.
this is just preamble chat. We are talking about Borderlands, the genre in general. It was our opening, and
Series, not the genre, but it's okay. We'll
yeah,
forgive
right.
him.
Apologies, right? Because it's not its own genre. It's not like the starter of its own genre, but you are correct. The series, but yeah. Anyways, pre-sequel is literally the only one that I don't have for both Xbox and PC.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess
And
now
again, a lot of people hated it. It's just one of those like, and I'm definitely not gonna sit here and be like, it's the best one. but I enjoyed it enough that like I have 2 max level characters and have played through
Fair.
Presec multiple times.
Fair enough. But for me, it was literally that. Like, the story wasn't compelling enough. Because I can play shitty games if the story's interesting enough. But the story, it wasn't bad, but it didn't feel it was up to par. I'll be honest with you. Borderlands 3 also didn't feel like it was up to par.
Again, a lot of people, though 2 is just such a high bar. I don't know that you're ever going to surpass 2 because 2 was really good, especially post DLC.
I was about to say exactly
Post DLC, it's fucking insane. There's so much game, there's so much story, there's so much variety. They fixed all the major issues with 1, which I also still love. 1 feels rough at this point, but I'm also a Kingdom Hearts fan, and Kingdom Hearts 1 feels rough at this point. Borderlands 2 just really sets a different bar.
Borderlands 1 for me feels like Assassin's Creed 1. I know I said this when we were gaming this weekend, but let me explain it for the crew here. Assassin's Creed 1 had interesting components and interesting elements, but after playing, I think it's 2 or 3, I forget, when they finally fixed a bunch of those issues, for me, it felt almost unplayable because it takes me 20 minutes to go back to Borderlands 1 and remember how to play it because the buttons are different, the stamina works, it's a whole different thing. When I originally played it, my biggest complaint about that game was the story. But
for 1?
Yeah. And I had a
lot of people really didn't like the ending of Borderlands 1.
Exactly. That was just it because
it didn't bother me.
It had those it built a world. Here's Pandora. Here's these ancient things for this universe. Here's this.
Well, and you know, my wife and I both have a sweet spot for stories that end with, and then they died. And even though it wasn't quite, and then they died in Borderlands, it was walking that same kind of vein, you know, of and then that was over, the end. And I'm like, fuck it, okay. But you know what? This was all ridiculous. Why wouldn't it end as ridiculously as it started? It was fine.
I feel like Borderlands 1 would have been the perfect example, the perfect moment where that would have worked, because it was a brand new property.
Yep.
It was a whole new style of storytelling.
Yep.
Right? It was a brand new
At the time, looter shooters were not a huge thing.
Not a huge thing.
I don't want to say it's the first. I don't.
It's not.
Think it's the first, but it really cemented looter shooters as a genre.
You might have to check exact, but I think like MAG was probably closer to being the first looter shooter.
MAG? No, MAG wasn't a looter shooter. I played MAG.
Isn't that
MAG was the big one that boasted the like 200 person maps or something. But isn't it like
wasn't MAG just like a precursor to Rust?
No.
No.
MAG stood for Massive Action Game. It was literally like it was a Call of Duty on steroids experiment that worked until they nerfed their entire skill spend.
Oh, okay.
They literally one day you logged in, they're like, yeah, we changed how you spend skills, and like they just they fucking ruined it, bro.
I know we're getting completely off on a tangent now, but that's why I stopped playing. What is it? A Payday 2. They completely changed the skill system the first time, and I was like, that's fine. We'll figure this out. And then they did it to us again, and by the third time, I was like, I just can't be fucked to learn a whole other skill tree. It's fine. We'll manage. Anyways, bringing it back to the Borderlands franchise and why Epic Store is a piece of shit. So Tiny Tina. So far, what I'm playing, I'm enjoying it. It's very it's on brand.
Yep.
So far, I'm enjoying the character class that I'm playing. We'll do a full review once we play it a little bit more. But it's still not worth paying the Epic Store. I just refuse to give them money for anything. I just refuse. More and more nowadays, like I used to spend so much money on video games, and now I'm starting to realize like. I don't care. I'll get it third party now, so the developer doesn't get any fucking money.
I used to play them a lot quicker. Like I had the time to just sit down and jam through a 40-hour game, in like a weekend and just fucking make it happen or something. And now like I just don't have that time. So I've slowed down on buying stuff, and I'll buy it third party or I'll buy it on sale. because I'll buy it when I actually have time to play it.
And see, for me, a big chunk of it now has been like, there's these developers that I just won't. I'm just like,
Yeah.
no, I'm just not gonna give you first
Yeah.
party money. I'll wait till it shows up on a humble, and even then,
I,
after they
I
got
won't
by,
play EA still to this day. I will not play
yeah,
EA games.
fair. And I, I applaud you sticking to that. But okay, I got to talk about this because it's a controversy that's happening in video games, which I know has been big surprise. This is my Pikachu face. Diablo Immortal.
I've tried not to pay attention to it.
So,
Literally, it's not even worth looking at.
unfortunately, Blizzard is currently on my list of companies that I refuse to give money to, especially now that they have nothing to do with Destiny.
It's gonna suck once Diablo 4 comes out, man.
That's exactly what I
It's
was gonna
gonna
say.
suck when Diablo 4 comes out.
Because I like Diablo. I didn't even buy the remaster of Diablo 2 because I was like, nope, I'll just install the original. It's fine.
Yeah.
We'll just do it that way. Run my own hacked server if I have to, if I'm
Yeah.
really itching to play it. I just
Ooh,
don't.
if you get a good hack Diablo 2 server up, let me know. I will totally hop into Diablo 2. with
Oh,
you.
yeah, it's not that difficult. We'll talk
I know it's not
afterwards.
difficult, but I'm just saying, like, if other motherfuckers are gonna be on a server, I'm in.
Yeah, like, it's not that difficult. Plus, I just don't want to talk about it live or we could be sued.
Yeah, fair.
Just putting that out there.
No, Blizzard, it's personal. It's just for personal friends to have a personal experience.
Tell that to WoW Classic.
I know.
The original. But anyways, Diablo Immortal. So, the reason it's back in controversy is because someone did the math. Hashtag
Yeah, I saw this.
did the math. I am not willing to do it. I'm just not willing to give them money either.
No.
So,
Nor should you.
to level up a character using in-game currency would cost about $110,000.
Yeah.
That's one character. That doesn't mean all your characters because the way that it's set up, you need these particular soul stones, I believe they're called, to get your one character leveled. To get that character leveled, and they're spent on things for that character. I don't
Yeah.
think they translate over. And then full disclosure, I'm speaking in a vacuum because I refuse to give them money, and I'm not fucking installing the game on my phone. I just don't trust them.
Nope.
So on top of that, like, everybody's starting to bring back all the controversy from before, the don't y'all have phones and this
Yeah.
and that, because what they've done is, this is again, let me give credit where credit's due. Sterling brought up a lot of these points, and I just want to put that James Stephanie Sterling brought up some solid points
Of the Jimquisition.
of the Jimquisition, brought up some solid points. That what they've done is they're pretending this isn't a loot box type of game. So what they've done is that it's like loot box with extra steps. They've added additional elements. There's that, and it's that daily login, and you get whatever. There are random aspects of it where you pay for money, spend your little diamonds, and get a random set of stuff. That's just called a loot box. They know that there doesn't actually have to be a physical and or digital representation of a loot box for the loot box mechanic to still be a loot box mechanic, right?
I mean, just like EA. Oh, it's not a loot box. It's surprise mechanics.
No, it's even worse. So here's what's interesting, and I'm repeating this, but I want to put it out for the world. Diablo Immortal isn't available in a couple countries.
Because of gambling?
Yeah, because the countries don't allow the gambling. Again, I am not the first person to say this, so I'm not trying to take any of this fucking credit. So if that is your stance, it's kind of shitty for some of the posts I've seen on Reddit of Blizzard support basically browbeating people. Oh, it's your local laws. It's because, like, I know that Sterling brought it up, but it's been on the front page of Reddit, right? So, like,
yeah,
I've seen the posts, I've seen this stuff, and it's just ridiculous. Obviously, Immortal has nothing to do with the main storyline, so I'm less impacted than I normally would be, because I love Diablo's storyline. It started as a traditional fantasy-esque and turned into an anime fantasy-esque story. Like, from Diablo 2 to Diablo 3 was a bit of a leap story-wise.
Sure.
right? You went from, this great evil to, you're part of this like grand prophecy, and you're special, and it was very much a shift. But I enjoyed both of them, so I was in. I'm glad that this isn't it, because I think I might finally be like, okay, thanks, boys. I'm out.
And I'm out.
Yeah. All right, so changing topics. You were out last week, and last week was episode not 198. This is 198. To make things less confusing.
So it was 2 weeks ago, wasn't it?
Was it? Oh, because it was a holiday. We're bad at holidays.
We're bad at holidays.
The region of the world where we exist had a holiday that meant we didn't have to show up for things, so we did it.
Yeah, so we don't.
So 2 weeks ago, you were gone. And you left me to my own devices, which you know is a mistake. I rambled about, I'm sure it was Halo, Mass Effect, Boston Legal, some other shit that I talked about. All kinds of things. And it's all your fault. And I promised the audience that you would talk about why you were gone and why you were a piece of shit. So go.
My name is Seven, and I'm... No, not why I was gone. Crypticon, Seattle. I was at a convention. So for the last few years, my brother Jay from the Bias Bros podcast has been going to a horror movie convention.
Horror.
It's kind of a different convention than a lot of the ones that Eduardo and I have been to. So Eduardo and I are very spoiled. The first convention that we really went to was San Diego Comic-Con. So we kind of started with tops.
In my defense, the first convention I went to was Acquire the Fire, a Christian convention. But yes,
I think the first I went to was like a baseball card convention when I was really little with my dad.
Yeah, so
we're getting really technical.
We weren't like bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. We've never been to conventions before. It's just this was our first we are absorbing the medium that we absolutely immerse
we consciously made the choice to go to this.
Yep.
Yeah. We're making it into a vacation. It's a trip, that kind of thing.
Yep.
So we started off really, really grand by going to one of the biggest, one of the best in the world. Arguably, of course, but whatever. So even the folks who had been going, because my brother's been going to this with the same group of people for the last few years, so they were like, hey, we're actually really curious to see how you feel about this convention. And I'm like, why? And they're like, it's just not on the same scale as what you're used to. So a lot of the stuff we go to is usually held in convention centers, arenas, large venues, right? So Crypticon Seattle is held at the Doubletree in Seattle. And if you're anything like me, you hear the Doubletree and you go like, the fuck kind of hotel this shit being held at, bro? So it is worth mentioning the Doubletree in Seattle is the second largest Doubletree in the world, apparently. That's what I was told. It's one of their flagship locations. So it's very big. It's so big, people at the convention were complaining about how far they had to walk to get from their hotel room to the convention. And I'm looking at it. Honestly, I was looking at a few of them like, you're fine. You're okay. Trust me. I believe in you. You're fine.
Like this is more helping than hindering there, pal.
Even beyond that, it's not going to kill you. So
in comparison to trying to go from the Reg area to Hall H, well, Hall H would be the right one.
There's 4 panel rooms.
Okay, so it wasn't that much walking. Okay.
No. There are 4 panel rooms. Registration downstairs to the left or right is sort of the convention floor, and this was the largest it's been. It had 3 different rooms for the convention floor. And then from registration, you go right, you go upstairs, and there's 1 or 2 hallways.
Okay.
That are the panel rooms. That's it. That's the whole convention.
Okay, so this sounds... I went to a convention in San Jose. It was LGBTQ plus comics convention. Okay. I went with one of our friends, Unexray.
Okay.
And that's what it was in the Marriott in San Jose, and it sounds like it was about that.
Yeah, probably a similar size. So here's my why I had the best time.
Cool.
I had the best time. This was so great. I'm 100% planning on going next year.
Okay.
This is coming from a convention guy who is not just convention starved, because I am going to get to go to San Diego Comic-Con, Rose City Comic-Con, and PRGE this year. All of them are actually being held, and I have tickets for all of them. And I was going to go to Fanime as well, but we didn't last minute because of reasons. So Crypticon is just a different experience. I can see your standard ticket being really worth it if you are a horror fan and you are loosely local to the greater Seattle area. Swoop you up a one-day ticket, check out the floor, hit a couple panels, meet a couple of really cool celebrities. There was no, like this, again, this isn't Comic-Con, there was no 2-hour line. There were 20, 30-minute lines, maybe on the very high end, maybe an hour. Maybe.
And that was for like Riker, who shows up to most of these things. I'm kidding.
It was not Riker, but yes, there were lines. Not for the folks I would have thought, weirdly enough, but
Ooh, you
there were
gotta
lines.
tell me about that, because I've never been to a horror convention specifically.
It's gonna be one of those things where I'm gonna say a name and you're gonna go okay, and then I'll tell you what they're in and you're gonna go oh. It'll be one of those.
That's most movies, so continue.
So what my brother's group and what I did was we really opted for the VIP experience.
Mm-hmm.
And there's 2 levels of VIP. We go for the highest level. The VIP section gets you, so the whole 13th floor of the hotel becomes sort of the after hours lounge areas.
Okay.
There are a couple of lounge areas you can choose from. There is the hard party fucking club music and unsing 30 people out on the patio smoking cigarettes, tequila and fucking jello shots being passed around, party room.
I don't know how I feel about this room. Everything was grand until the smoking.
It is on the patio.
Okay, fair enough.
Which is 13 floors up, and I had a really hard time with, but whatever.
I feel like that, I'm adding commentary, but I feel like that would be a room that I would spend some time in.
So then, there is the karaoke room.
Okay, no.
The karaoke room.
Nope, that's exactly why it's a fucking no.
And you know exactly how much time I spent in there.
Yeah, I will live and fucking bleed for karaoke, but karaoke, I'm just fucking out.
There was another room that was themed, but this group just didn't seem to go there. I think at one point they were doing horror movie trivia, which I actually wanted to go to and just didn't because I was sticking with the group this time. I'll probably go next year. So I can't speak much on that one. And then there was the VIP section. There is a lounge that only the VIP badge people can go into.
Okay.
And it is free beer, free wine, and a couple of specialty cocktails you can get for free.
Oh, sold. Yep. Okay.
Any point in time in the day, you can go up to that lounge and grab a free drink, sit down. There are tables you can actually sit at. You can just go there. You can bring food. They have some snacks and stuff out for free as well. VIP lounge. Then, on Saturday night, all of the celebrity guests are contractually obligated to spend at least 30 minutes in the VIP room. And this, of course, has varying effects. Some celebrities come in, they do their requisite 30 minutes, they try not to talk to anybody, and they dip. And that happened, and that's fine. I understand. These guys are here to make some cash. Like, these are horror movie guys.
And
none of them are
these folks
fucking
are
millionaires.
introverts just like the rest of us.
Exactly.
I get it.
There's lots of reasons to not. But there usually are some folks who just want to hang around, have some drinks, and chat with people. And it's really, really genuine because those guys who are there to chat with you, you never feel like you're the creepy mouth breather who's like bombarding this poor person with questions. They stuck around that late because they wanted to be there. They're crafty enough that if they didn't want to be there, they'd make an excuse and they'd get the fuck out. Which again, some of them did
or
do.
Point out somebody at the door and get your ass kicked out. You know, whatever works.
Right. So it's really cool that, you know, there's always at least going to, like you would think, just statistically, there's going to be at least one who hangs out. Whether maybe they feel bad and they hang out, they just have drinks with people all night. There is unlimited booze, you know? So it was really cool. I got to have, so the 2 that hung out, I'm not going to call anybody who didn't, because again, there's lots of reasons not to.
You and me later, we'll talk.
Maybe they were like me and they were fucking hungover as shit and didn't want to stay out. Who knows, right?
Same answer. You and me later, we'll talk.
We will. But the folks who hung out, actually, Eduardo, can you look up her name? Hop in the IMDb's for me. It's the lead girl in Ash versus the Evil Dead.
Okay. All right.
I can't
got
remember her
this.
real name, but she was hysterical. She had a whole crowd of people that she was just sitting there entertaining. She was hammered. I am shocked she came downstairs to sign more autographs on Sunday because she was fucking lit up, and no judgment on that because so were we. She was fantastic. She was such a delight. I believe she
Unlimited
gave
booze.
right. I believe she gave the girl who was with our party her nickname all night was Goat Whorepig.
Okay, fun. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
but in a very loving way. Like in a loving way that you can only call somebody Goat Whorepig at a horror convention, and it's really just a special moment for everybody.
Dana De Lorenzo.
That's right. Yes.
Cool.
She's a delight. But who I actually spent most of the night chatting with is I got to have a very long, very wonderful, like not even super businessy gross, just got to have a legitimate fun conversation with the Kyoto brothers. If you're not familiar with the name, they are the guys who made Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Okay.
They created the Critters from Critters. They're the Marcel the Shell with sandals on. It's like a new kids show that's coming out.
Yeah.
They did a bunch of the effects. Oh, one of the biggest ones, Large Marge from Pee-wee's Big Adventure. They did the special effects for Large Marge. They are an effects house. It's three brothers who run a special effects house. Nicest guys in the world. I had such a blast just hanging out and having a couple drinks with them. Really, really, really super nice guys.
Yep. Apparently they did a bunch of work on Team America.
Oh God! How did I forget? Yes, they made
Yeah.
all of the puppets for Team America, and listening to them tell stories about the set of Team America is fucking hysterical. Their big thing with this is we didn't even want to do it. They were like, it was so much work. Like Matt and Trey kept going, no, guys, it's great because you get to work with puppets and not actors. And they were like, you don't realize that puppets are so much harder to work with than actors. They turned them down 3 times. They even Matt and Trey hired somebody else who started it, saw how big the scope was, backed out, and they went back to the Kyoto Bros and they're like, you're the only ones who can do it. You have to do this.
I'm sure that got them a lot of credit in the industry, though, because
Yes, I'm sure it did, and the movie was fantastic,
Yep.
and their work was, it speaks for itself. The fucking Matt Damon puppet is a whole story alone.
yeah, it is.
They were super 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 nice. The merch floor was great. I have never been to a convention where literally every merchant is willing to just sit there and have a conversation about their wares, about their inspiration, about like what they're wearing that day, about what they had for lunch, about anything. Everybody is just super down to like have a conversation and chat. It really did feel like a convention full of people who weren't there for clout, they weren't there for bragging rights, they weren't there because somebody was making them. Everybody who was at this convention really wanted to be at the convention among those people, and it was really really cool. I had a very very good time. Like I said, I'm definitely going back next year. Yeah, really really
Okay.
in. Very much sold on this.
That's an interesting. Well, I wouldn't say approach, but
It's not what you and I normally go to a convention for.
no, but I feel like because we ended up going to a lot of the more mainstream ones that were out there. Like I honestly I'd like to go to Morphicon at least once.
Oh, yeah.
To see what it's like. My problem with that is I'm in my mid 30s now.
Yeah.
And that is a show for
weird.
children. So like I feel extra awkward. It's like I feel like it's like someone making a Pee Wee Herman convention, like just for Pee Wee Herman, and that's actually even older than I am to be super popular. So a 40-year-old showing up there fully dressed with the voice and everything, and at one point you're just like, hey bro, you're just a bit much.
You didn't come here in a van, did you? I would like to hit up Dragon Con at some point. From what I'm told, Dragon Con is the large-scale version of this because it's not a con for anything in particular. It is sort of a nerd life convention. And there are even different tracks. There is the fantasy track, the sci-fi track, the comic track, and those tracks will have different events going on within those tracks at different times because you're kind of meant to group up with people of the same passion as you.
That's it.
And
That's
it's very much about social experiences over like a merch floor. So this has kind of made me more interested in Dragon Con. But man, what a genuine experience. Like, truly, had a great time. At one point, the Kyoto brothers excused themselves like they were allowed to do. They disappeared for a bit. I grabbed a drink. They actually came back and they were like, hey, man, we didn't want you to think like we just dipped out. Just wanted to say thank you. We had a great night. It was a nice conversation. I had mentioned my comic to them in a super not scummy, super not businessy way. It came up very naturally. But they were like, hey, man, whenever it's finished, like, we'd love to just see the finished product. It sounds like it'd be really fun. Find us on Facebook. Shoot it over to us. So
that's cool, man.
Very nice guys, super nice dudes. Had a really good time hanging out with them. And even the next day, down at the autograph tables, we kind of befriended. I'm gonna screw up his name, Phil Forticondo. If you look up Troll 1, he is the little person actor in Troll 1.
Forticone?
Is it Forticone?
Maybe. You talk about trolls. Okay, sorry.
No, Troll. Just Troll.
Just the one troll?
It's just the one troll. Do I have to find this? Okay, hold on. We're doing it live. We're doing it live.
1986 film?
1986 film Troll.
Okay.
Phil Fondacaro.
Okay.
There is supposed to be a space in that. The IMDb actually writes it funny. There's supposed to be a space. At least
fair
that's
enough,
how he had it on his banner.
None of any of the things that I typed were in the near approximation of what you were saying. Brought that name up with Phil as the first name.
So a lot of people would know him from Willow. He played Von Carr. He was an Ewok in Star Wars. He was one of the main guys in. He was the little person in Troll. And weirdly, we ended up being really, really good friends with his wife. Our group just befriended his wife due to weird circumstance. And then while his wife was chatting with the hairdresser who was in our group, Jay and I were kind of like, chatting with Phil. Meanwhile, like his booth is open for people to come up and get signatures, and they had no problem just kind of pulling us off to the side and chatting with us while he continued to do his thing. And like it came down to like he was like, hey man, I've noticed some of the other celebrities are like drinking. Do you guys think that's trashy? And I was like, bro, I'm from Portland. We do everything while we like. It's literally not considered trashy to just go have beer at lunch. Lots of people do it. And he was like, really? And I was like, Phil, do you want us to go grab you beer? And he was like, no. And me and Jay were like, bro, like it's literally not like, please. You're Phil Fondicarlo. I will buy you a beer, bro. Like, I'd love to be able to tell people I bought you a beer. So we went out and we bought him a beer, and he was just, like, super appreciative, super nice guy. Bill Moseley, who is Otis from the, oh my God, the Devil's Rejects movies, the Rob Zombie ones. Bill Moseley's in a lot of stuff. He's in The Blob. He's in Texas Chainsaw 2. Big name in horror. If you search Bill Moseley, you'll definitely recognize him.
He's steady work.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Several movies. Exorcism at 60,000 feet. He was Garvin.
That old gem. So just at his booth, like coming up and, Jay paid for a picture and an autograph and a something else with him, little package thing. And he was like, do you want to be in the picture? I was like, no, he paid for it. And he goes, yeah, that's all the more reason for you to be in the picture. Somebody else paid for it. So I hopped in the fucking picture with him. He was super nice. We chatted with, what is her name? It's I want to say Stephanie Dorff, and I don't think Stephanie is right, but it is literally Brad Dourif's daughter. So the voice of Chucky, very famously the voice of Chucky. His daughter is now, what's that?
Thank you.
Oh, his daughter is now in the Chucky TV show on Sci-Fi.
Oh, that's cool.
But I actually know her from the Dirk Gently TV show. The guy who wrote Hitchhiker's Guide did a book called Dirk Gently, and they made it into a show. And she played Brody, who is sort of this embodiment of chaos and evil. Oh my God, she's fantastic. And again, somebody in the group paid for like a picture and an autograph and a hug or whatever. And I was just like, hey, like I didn't pay for anything, but seriously, you in this role fucking made the whole show for me. It was one of the most unhinged things I've ever seen. And then I sat there and I chatted with her for like, 5 minutes because she was just like, "Oh, thank you, that's so cool," and that one doesn't get brought up a lot, and yada 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 yada. Just a very genuine experience. Super cool, super fun. I had a blast.
That's cool. I will say that's one of the things that I don't like about what's Comic Con now.
You've got to come to November with us if they do it again this year. You've got to come to November.
Yeah, because the real issue was I met and got pictures and autograph from some of my favorite authors and comic book artists, but
Yeah.
like one of my favorite interactions was with Edward James Olmos.
Yeah, that was super random too. You would honestly, we kind of screwed some people over doing that by accident. You and I did not see that. Tell the story.
Total accident.
No.
So, long story short, I've told this story before, so I'll just briefly go into it because it was that much of a kind of a cool reaction. So, Edward James Olmos, Battlestar Galactica. I believe he was also in La Bamba.
I can pull up some more of his big stuff.
But I think it's Stand and Deliver is his big one. And so I've seen a lot of his films, but when I was in 7th or 8th grade, I randomly got a chance to catch one of his lectures in that little town that I used to live in back then.
Blade Runner, Battlestar Galactica, Selena,
Yeah,
Stand
Battlestar
and
Galactica,
Deliver,
I was just trying to reference some of his more obscure
Dexter.
stuff. Battlestar Galactica is what I think most folks know him.
I believe what we're all going to know from Beverly Hills Chihuahua. He was El Diablo.
Yeah, that one.
Go on.
So I got a chance to catch one of his lectures. And at that point, he'd already been an actor for a while. This was before Battlestar Galactica. And he was going around and giving these whole lectures. It was around the Hispanic, because there was a migrant farm community. This was like back then, before I moved to a major city. And he just talked about, the Latin community, and he goes, it just feels like sometimes we're closed-minded. The reason I'm telling this part is because it's the comment I actually made to him. It was he had said in his lecture, he was like, we always talk about, God is a he. And he goes, well, maybe it's in her name. And like, mind you, this was 7th, 8th grade me, and it blew my fucking mind.
What?
Because like very traditional values, right?
Yeah.
Like the way I was raised, and all of a sudden I was like, "There's no logical reason why that isn't possible." Okay. Fast forward like fucking 26 years later. No, I was younger than that. Probably 20 years later. And I'm walking by, and we just happen to take, because we like to go aisle by aisle at Comic-Con. At least once. You go through every aisle, you fucking see everything. And the first time, you don't even stop mostly. You go, hey, write down the location, and then you come back. So we're walking down this tiny aisle, and there's literally nobody in this aisle, and it's Edward James Olmos sitting at a booth.
Yeah.
And I just came up to him, and I was like, hey, I knew it was one of those, like, paid things, because I learned that the hard way. Kevin Sorbo, you piece of shit. I'm not actually mad at him for that.
Hercules.
But anyways, and I told him, I was like, hey, I just wanted to say, you opened up my mind when I was young at this convention. And I told him that, and he was like, he was, I forget the exact words, but he was like, oh, that was a long time ago. And I was like, cool, yeah, thank you. And he goes, you want to autograph, take a picture? And I was like, sure, because there was nobody around.
Yeah, there was.
But, yes, okay. So, there were people around, but apparently they had cleared the line, and it was up against the fucking wall.
So if we're walking straight down the aisle, he's at the very end of the aisle on the left, but the line is down, the aisle will dead end, and you can only go left or right.
It's up on the right.
It's up past where we can see. And so we're just walking by. We don't know that there's a line for this thing. It was just very poorly
And
thought out.
I wasn't intending to even get a picture or signature.
No,
right?
he just wanted to say hi.
I just wanted to say hi to the dude because
But
it looked like there's
he
nobody
even
there.
stopped me because we were just walking like we do, like we just kind of snake aisles for a little bit before we really buy. Ooh, excuse me, before we really buy stuff. And so we were just walking through. He saw him, was just like, "Hey, hold on a second," because it's not the first time we've seen a bigger named person just sitting in a booth. It happens all the time, and like he said, we're used to like these are paid things, but usually you walk by when the line is in front of it and it's happening, and you can go, "Oh shit, that's why this aisle's really crowded. Is that motherfucker's in the booth?" And we just caught it at this weird sweet spot where he was waiting for the line to open, and we were in the aisle that it was opening into.
Yeah, and he was super cool, very very friendly.
Yeah.
And he just we took a picture and everything. And as we're walking away, we see the signs, and I was just like, let's just keep going.
Yep, just keep walking. We got a couple of dirty looks walking by those people who were like, "The fuck," and we were like,
Well, and this was
He
before
asked
they
us!
yeah, this is before they started doing tokens.
"Yeah,
Because it's completely different now at Comic-Con. They have that second floor where it's just it almost feels like food vendors where you make a line, you get it there, they sign, they don't even get up. So no, it was it's definitely different. I do like that a little bit more. So I wonder if I can weasel my way into a Crypticon sometime next year.
I mean, you wouldn't have to weasel your way too much.
It's rude as fuck to invite yourself. I'm just saying.
But at the same time, it's a public convention,
Oh,
and you're allowed to just go.
well,
to
that
it.
was gonna be my next comment. I might just go and not hang out with you.
Yeah,
That's also an option.
perfectly acceptable.
But that's only because you love me too much. All right, so Crypticon
Okay.
overall, out of all the conventions you've gone, where does it fall?
I don't know that it is fair to say that it falls anywhere. It's such a different convention.
Okay.
You're not going to it for the same thing that you're going to other conventions for necessarily. Like, I still bought merch. There's this great company there called Vinegar Syndicate. They take really, really old, like, abandoned films that are out of copyright, and they buy up the original prints, up them to 4K, and give them re-releases.
Okay.
So, like, I picked up Tammy and the T-Rex. I picked up Ticks.
Ticks.
They had Seth Green and fucking Carlton from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air fighting giant monster ticks that were mutated when a pot field stole government pesticide to tend to their pot fields.
This is like Biodome, but horror. That's what it sounds like plot-wise.
And fucking Tammy the T-Rex is Denise Richards and Paul Walker.
That blew my mind. I've never heard of that movie until you brought it up, and especially didn't remember. Well, I know the title because it's been referenced a lot.
Sure.
But I had no clue it had Denise Richards and Paul Walker. I was like,
yeah,
blew my mind.
Yeah. So there is merch. There is con typical stuff. But really, you're going to this convention during the day and hanging out with cool people, and then at night you're going to the VIP lounge and you're hanging out with cool people.
Yeah.
And that's almost what you're going for, is these late night parties. There was even a fucking horror themed drag show that was super fun.
Okay. That's funny.
I had a blast.
No, I'm laughing because that reminds me. One time, total fucking side story here. One time in Oakland, California, me and my best friend were just like, we're kind of bored. There's nothing to fucking do. So we went to this comedy show, but it just happened to be one of the like guys there in the club, like the club manager or one of the their birthday. So instead of doing their normal comedy, they did burlesque comedy show.
Nice.
So a comedian would come up, all mixed gender, all kinds, whatever would come up in like, a kind of sexy outfit, usually with some sort of cover up. Do like 5 minutes of material and quasi roast the birthday boy, and then they would whip the thing off and do like a 2-minute burlesque song. And when you're not expecting this, because we were like, oh yeah, it's they were like, hey, it's normally $20 at the door, but today it's a special event, so they were charging like 25. They were worried we were gonna go away, and I was like, it's a comedy show, whatever, it's fine, $25, we're good. But yeah, fucking hilarious. Like, even if the jokes weren't the best, because it was a local comedy club, like
Sure.
a couple of people were great, but some people were just like, oh, you're only doing this because it's his birthday, so it's kind of roasty like that. Okay, fair enough. You're not really a comedian. I get it. Because I think it was not a hostess, a cocktail server, came up and did a bit, and it was just like, the timing was weird.
Yeah. Clearly was not a professional.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
the whole situation made it super fucking interesting, because she's still willing to go up there and do this little burlesque like show, and it wasn't like they were taking all their clothes off, but it was just straight up burlesque.
Right.
Such a wonderful, out of fucking nowhere gem. So that's why I started laughing when you said
Yeah,
that.
I did not know there was a horror drag show going on, but it was a fucking blast. I don't know. I had a couple drinks.
It's funny. No, honestly, it's hilarious. One of the funnest evenings I've had was a friend of ours who won't say the name, but married way too early, got divorced.
Yes.
So her like bride's party didn't plan a bachelorette party. So I took her to a club in SF. Were you there for that?
Yep.
Okay, I couldn't remember the group. I know there's a picture that we promised we'd never show anybody. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. I had a blast. But it was a completely drag club, right? And they brought her on stage. They did this whole show. The food was fantastic, surprisingly enough.
It was actually, yeah.
It was so good, and it was Asian food, like Asian fusion. And yeah, it was fantastic. So, yeah, sometimes a little drag show is just what you need to brighten up your evening.
Well, with a little less than 15 minutes left, should we review something?
Well, I was gonna say, how was the drag show?
Oh, it was super fun.
Like even costume wise, because that's the really fun part. Like, some of these have really well made costumes.
So I only said there was an intermission, and I dipped out with Jay during intermission, not because anything was going poorly. I was starving.
Fair.
I hadn't
Fucking
eaten
cons
yet,
is
and I needed to
rough.
get the fuck out of there and dump some food into my body. So, yeah. But, so I saw, what was there? I don't remember what the opener was. Oh, so it was a Wednesday Addams,
Okay.
and then I can't remember the character's name, but the one who had like the gold sequin suit in Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, Adonis?
Magenta?
Oh. Wait, what was the name of the... Yeah, I don't know.
Don't remember. Either way. And then Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs,
Okay.
complete with a little fake penis onto the front of a bodysuit.
That's
It was
funny.
awesome. And then, I don't know what they're called, but they're from the Muppets, and they do like the yep, nope, yep.
I know what you're talking about. I don't know their name either.
And that one was an actual lady, so I guess I don't know if you still call it a drag show if it's a mix. I guess
don't
it's just
know.
a burlesque. I guess just a burlesque show at that point.
Yeah,
but,
I don't actually know what defines them.
Yep, same. And then it was like a little too long. They had this thing with like the killer clowns from outer space, but just a bunch of people dressed as killer clowns went and ran around the audience. But it was like a full 5 minutes of that. And it was like, we didn't need 5 minutes of that. And then the host put on a Chucky get up that was actually really, really. I have a couple pictures. I'll send them to you, Eduardo.
For sure.
Put them on the website, or I don't think we can do that, but
yeah, we can.
I don't know if we're allowed from Crypticon to do that.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess it depends which room you were in. Yeah. But yeah.
Let's review something. I'm gonna send you this picture right now, though.
For sure. Honestly, I think we have to do it. Let's get to it.
Okay.
Madness, everybody. Madness.
Madness.
So, you finally saw this, right?
I did.
Did you like
pictures.
it?
I'm paying attention. I'm sending pictures just for the audience.
Did you like it? Let's just open up with that.
Look, at the end of it, I looked at my wife and I went, honestly, this was just a Sam Raimi film, and there was no chance I walked out of it not liking it. Because it was barely a Marvel movie. It was a Sam Raimi movie.
Yep. Okay. Fair enough. So you liked it, but did you like it just because of the style, or do you feel like it added anything to the Marvelverse?
I mean, at this point, I don't know if I care about the Marvelverse. At this point, we've established that it's anything they want it to be at any time. So can you really hurt it? I don't know. I do like that we've kind of shown a light on some darker corners of the Marvelverse with this. Because it is there. It's always been there. And especially with things like Blade coming out, we need to start showing some darker stuff with the Marvel movies. So I do think this accomplished that pretty well. But I don't know. It just felt like Sam Raimi came in to play in the Marvel toy box.
Okay, so it's like Taika Waititi?
Taika Waititi?
Yeah, I mostly got that one. Where you're like, yeah, I understand the style. I like their other stuff. This is probably going to be good.
Yeah, and I know a lot of, or maybe not a lot of people. I know some people don't feel that Taika Waititi, Gold Suit guy was Rocky Horror, I believe. The Gold Suit girl. Pretty sure there's a Gold Suit girl. A lot of people didn't like Taika Waititi doing his style on Thor, because Thor was not that style until then. But if I'm being honest, I didn't like Thor until Taika Waititi's. And I kind of like that, just like with comics. And I probably, 10 years ago, I was this guy, and I'm very glad I'm not this guy now. Look, different comics, when written by different people, have different feels to them. And it's the same thing with movies. When you get a different, comic movies need to shift as much as comics do. You need a different feel applied to characters sometimes to keep it fresh, because it's an ever-changing universe. And if Captain America only ever does military shooter style movies, it's gonna get stale and kind of fucking boring, just like it did. Switching to Taika Waititi for Thor, I think breathes some life into it. And switching to, I would love to see Sam Raimi come back and do Doctor Strange 3. I really think that dark tone served the movie well. I think people who say that they thought it needed to be rated R are sissy little baby pants who need to get their shit fucking looked at. I don't know.
What
I will say,
made this movie better with an R rating? What you wanted nudity?
No. People were concerned. So I saw it so late in its run. There's now a warning at the beginning that says there are moments of brief gore.
Okay.
And people are calling for a rated R because of those moments of brief gore. I think a lot of people saw the name Sam Raimi and just assumed they made it something bigger in their head. Though when we were walking out, the people next to us, my wife and I started calling Coven Theater kids. These are kids who for the last 3 years have not been to a theater and probably were never allowed to go to a theater alone before COVID, and now post-COVID they're 3 years older and they're allowed to go to a theater and they don't know how to behave. They were very loud and very animated throughout the entire theater, and I almost struck one of them. But they were talking about how scared they were by the movie, and I was like, yep, you are sheltered fucking COVID kids. So that was a little bit of a downer, but I guess it did have a darker tone, right? This was not like WandaVision.
No, it wasn't. Well, especially because they took a character from a show like WandaVision, and I'm sure that all the kids saw it in their Disney Plus,
Yeah.
and then they did this to it, and
Yeah.
this is shit you and I grew up with, right?
Yes.
Like this is not new. Fucking most of the time, the whole "you live long enough to be a bad guy" happens because different artists, different writers want to turn shit
Yeah.
on their ear, and they want to just, what if this character wasn't the golden boy? Like there have been runs where even Superman comes off like a giant fucking dick, and
Yeah.
he's the golden boy.
And then ultimately dealing with magic and demons and dark energies, like things are just asking to become a little more grown up.
I honestly think Justice League Dark needs to happen. It needs to fucking happen.
They've wanted Del Toro to do it for years.
I don't know that he's the right one.
That's what they've wanted.
Oh my god, I don't know. I don't.
Who would you put behind it?
Honestly, maybe not the whole series, but like the guy who did Sandman.
Neil Gaiman?
Yeah,
I don't know that he's directed much.
he's done a bunch of guest spots and stuff.
That's acting, but has he directed anything?
Yeah, didn't he do an episode of Doctor Who?
He wrote it.
Oh, I thought he actually directed it as well.
Maybe. I know he wrote it, but I don't know.
I might be way off here. But somebody
directed it.
like that, somebody who can take really abstract concepts and like put them, almost personify them, like, you know, in American Gods and stuff.
He has directed two things: a short film about John Bolton in 2003, and 10-minute tales, one episode
Holy
in
shit.
2009.
I thought he
does not
this
direct.
whole time I thought he had directed that
No,
episode.
you
of
are,
Doctor
you are a fool.
I am.
Do you know who he works with? What's funny is the picture that comes up when you look at his pictures on IMDb, it's Neil Gaiman and Guillermo del Toro sitting next to each other.
Yeah, well, that's true. I don't know, man. I just, Del Toro's fantastic, but I'm like,
Columbia. That's right. Check on it. It's Columbia.
what are we talking about?
The character from Rocky Horror. It's Columbia.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I would have never known that. I've seen the movie a bunch mostly with y'all, but yeah, fair enough. I don't know. I definitely like the movie. I hope, because this felt like an in between movie to me. Like,
Which most of their sequels do.
Yeah, which is kind of sucky. But I hope that when them bringing in the multiverse allows them to explain how they're bringing in all these other fucking elements that they've really missed out on.
So you sound like you're at the same level my wife is. She walked out saying, like, she didn't hate it, but it's not one of her favorites. Where for me, honestly, this is probably one of my tops. I am a sucker for like the Sam Raimi, Edgar Wright style filming and editing. I just love how saturated it is with like, does this make sense? No, but it looks really cool. Fucking do it, bro. Like, let's do some crazy cuts and some crazy transitions just because. It just works for me.
No, I'm a fan as well. Mostly, honestly, like, Raimi for me goes all the way back to Xena and shit, right? Like, so.
Wasn't that Ted?
What?
Xena? Wasn't it Ted in Xena?
No. The brother, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm not mixing this up, goddammit.
Did he like direct it or was he in it? Because I'm pretty sure Ted Raimi was in it.
Ted Raimi was in it. I thought he did a bunch of it too. Xena, yeah, he did a bunch of episodes.
Oh, he's one of the creators of it even.
Yeah.
Wow, I did not know that.
I was like, no, like Xena, I knew.
Yeah.
I'm just
Well, and that's why Ted is in 43 episodes.
Yeah, exactly, right? So exactly. So that's why, like, I go way back with Raimi, maybe not in the same way, because I wasn't exposed until Tash and the Evil Dead because it was definitely not a thing you watched in my household until you guys, really.
Yeah.
So
Where me and Jay grew up with
exactly,
Evil Dead
and connecting those two dots where it's like, oh shit, he did Xena?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I was super into
Should-
all of that because that shit was basically harmless. They're like, yeah, people fighting, you're fine, you can watch this. Versus like, oh no, demons and shit, you don't watch that shit. Oh, you know, being sheltered, but no, it was good shit. But for this, I just felt like I liked it. I liked the visuals were great. I liked the pacing. I the dialogue. I don't know. I was hoping that just fucking the Doctor Strange verse. There's so many more interesting things that they could do with it.
Sure.
Right? Like, but maybe that's why I think this is a gateway because, like, start bringing in like he goes toe to toes with demons.
Yeah.
Legit capital D demons. And I'm like, bring in some of that shit. Like,
I mean, I think they needed to finish segueing her character. You know, this was just as much about her as it was about him. Kind of like they did with like you know, Civil War 3 is or sorry, Civil War is Captain America 3. Yet most people think about that movie as being Civil War. I feel like
it feels like
in the
Avengers
Multiverse of
1.5.
Madness, it's sort of this jelly between a few different series, but stuck into Doctor Strange.
Yeah. Okay, maybe
Like
that's
like
why.
we're gonna get a few things that come out of this. We are running out of time. Do you wanna put a pause on this? Do you wanna nutshell it? What do you want to do?
Well,
I feel like it might be a disservice to nutshell it.
Yeah, that's fair because it was a solid film. So
And there's lots of little things we can talk about. It's been long enough. I
for
think.
sure, and I also want to I want to obviously discuss The Thing.
Yes.
Yeah, like definitely want.
So let's
go
pause.
through all
This is part A. So don't give it a rating. Don't give it a rating.
that.
No ratings. No ratings in part A.
It is whatever rating the Obi-Wan show. I haven't seen it. We need to watch that show.
You watched Obi-Wan?
I haven't. All I've heard
Okay.
is that people are mad about it.
You're like, the little girl who plays Rey doesn't run fast enough. Okay, she's also 10. So, let's be real pissed about that.
Oh my god. I love nerds, but I fucking hate nerds. All right.
Why is Leia a sassy little girl? Well, she's kind of a sassy adult, so
Yeah, I was about to say
tell me.
that's on point. Okay, I need to watch this show. All right, check us out. Mondays 7 to 8 Pacific. Tuesdays 7 to 9
Pacific.
It's in 5D podcast on YouTube, twitch.tv/Metagame Network. Final words, Bonsai.
This is my friend Chad. He's dead.
Okay.
Bye.